Nintendo's been on a hot streak with their games recently. Tears of the Kingdom was amazing, Super Mario Bros. Wonder was exactly what 2D Mario needed, and Mario Kart World was a massive step forward for the series. So after making a lot of fun games, Nintendo has decided to change things up. It was in their Kyoto headquarters where one visionary must have gotten up and said, "Hey, guys, what if we made a game that was like super boring? Oh my god. Just when you thought they couldn't keep innovating, Nintendo's done it again." Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour is a piece of software developed by Nintendo EPD and Nintendo Cube for the Nintendo Switch. I say piece of software because this really isn't a game. It's as much of a game as Microsoft Excel is. This and Mario Kart World are the only first-party launch titles for the Nintendo Switch 2. They say a console's launch lineup should be diverse and capture all audiences with different titles. With Mario Kart, they tapped into the crowd that likes exciting gameplay that can be experienced solo or with others. With Switch 2 Welcome Tour, they're going after people who like taking quizzes. Yeah, Knockout Tour is cool, but I wish it made me answer questions about heat dissipation. On the surface, Welcome Tour looks like the typical new console pack-in game, such as Wii Sports or Astro's Playroom. But despite appearing this way, it's not an extra goodie included with your system. Instead, this tour has a $10 entry fee. Players are upset about this price tag, but I think it's for the best, because Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour would have been a horrible pack-in game. Look at Wii Sports and Astro's Playroom, which sit on the highest thrones of the pack-in game kingdom. They perfectly show off what their consoles can do and give the players a great time doing it. Wii Sports transformed how people play games, and tennis is probably the chief reason that many ended up buying extra Wii remotes. Astro's Playroom provided a short and sweet 3D platformer full of PlayStation nostalgia. What does Welcome Tour do? It tells you that they made the L and R buttons longer. After Astro's Playroom, the collective desire for an expanded version culminated in the release of a Game of the Year winning title. No one will be asking for an expanded version of Welcome Tour. The only people who would are the type that actually read the terms and conditions on everything. Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour positions itself as a virtual exhibit, complete with info panels, interactive demos, and bumbling strangers. It has all the visual charm of a corporate training video. It captures the exhibition feeling well, and manages to be more informative than the Nintendo Museum. But while going through the entire thing, I ended up with more questions than answers. There's 4 main elements to Welcome Tour: tech demos, minigames, insights, and stamps. Tech demos are exactly what they sound like. Small, interactive presentations that show off the new features of the Switch 2. They're fine, but many don't display things that the Switch 1 can already do, even if it does them slightly worse. Several focus on the HD Rumble 2, which I guess is better than HD Rumble 1, but it feels the same as what I remember. The one I found most impressive was noise reduction, known for its implementation in game chat. I had doubts about how it would work, but it performed well, even with the system 10 feet behind me, next to a running air conditioner.
Please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe.
Much better than the tech demos are the minigames, of which there's quite a few. Most have to do with the new Joy-Con mouse feature, which is the standout addition of the console. The games have varying quality, some feeling like they were made in Adobe Flash Player in 2006, but others show how the mice can be creative or superior ways to play. Balloon Hunt resembles a first-person shooter, using the analog stick of the left Joy-Con for movement and the mouse on the right for aiming. This might not be remarkable for PC players, but for console players, it's a big step up, even over the Switch's gyro aiming. It makes me excited to play more games of this type, and I hope developers will take advantage of it. Speed Golf was another cool one, which is similar to traditional golf, but how well you do is measured by the time it takes, not the number of strokes. You use the mouse controls to aim and swing, giving more personal control than similar golf games. One advantage that the Joy-Con mouse brings is accounting for the angle of the controller, not just the position. This is shown off well here, and it gives me hope for new games that could use it. Another I enjoyed was stunt driving. Here, you slide the Joy-Con left and right to steer, and tilt it to tilt the car. Your movements and what's shown on the screen are truly one-to-one, to the point where it feels like that's your hand holding the car. It's simple, but it works well, and coupled with the awesome music, gives the impression of an NES game in the modern day. But although I enjoyed these minigames, there were others I wasn't so hot on. 4K pixel hunt could be done on any other modern system, but it was fun for a quick minute, and gave me some more value for my LASIK surgery. The breaststroke minigame is appropriately subtitled Floaty Frustration, because as neat as it is, it's hard to get a handle on. There were a few that I really could have gone without, like Feel the Shape. You move the Joy-Con mouse and feel it rumble when the cursor touches a particular shape you can't see. This works fine when it's between two shapes, but on the last round, it throws 8 at you. I'm sorry, the HD Rumble 2 might be good, but it's not good enough for me to tell the difference between a circle, a hexagon, and a pentagon. Don't try to gaslight me into thinking that it is. But the minigames don't take up the bulk of Welcome Tour, neither do the tech demos. Instead, most of the experience is insights, which are minimally interactive and minimally fun. In each section, you'll find a number of quiz desks. Talk to the worker and they'll open up info panels to read through, then take a quiz on. There's 50 of these stations in total, with each having 3 to 5 info panels, each of those having at least 5 to 10 pages of information. It's a lot. Some might say it's too much. That's me. I'm saying that. It's definitely too much. I went into Switch 2 Welcome Tour wanting to learn about the system, and I most certainly did. But is what it teaches you worth caring about? There's interesting stuff, like how the Joy-Con connectors are able to move a bit, or how noise reduction leaves in clapping. I'll also confirm it leaves in dogs barking, so you can rest easy there. But the majority of the info I can't imagine caring about. Do we really need to learn how the Switch 2 AC cable is thinner than the original? Or about the stitching techniques of the Joy-Con strap? I'm sure there's some freaks out there that just had to know about the system's cooling techniques and how the speakers are slightly diagonal, but I think I'm speaking for the masses when I ask, who cares? If I'm being charitable, I'd say that the insights of Switch 2 Welcome Tour are the most open that Nintendo has ever been with a console. There's no other time that they've even acknowledged that their systems are computers. SoCs, RAM, GPUs? There's no such thing. These all run on Nintendo Magic. While true Welcome Tour gives us a look inside a Nintendo console like never before, they're not really giving us the good stuff. I don't doubt that there is tons of juicy information about the Switch 2 that exists, but they aren't giving it to us here. I'd love to know what they tried to do with the system that they weren't able to, or what crazy concepts they had that they ended up not pursuing. Or any inside info about Switch 2 games would be awesome, but we don't get any of that here. Besides some tidbits about how the Joy-Con mouse works, most details presented are rudimentary and apply to every other console out there. As a company, Nintendo is more secretive than ever, and Switch 2 Welcome Tour doesn't change that. Much faster, but no less annoying than the insights are the stamps. At every section of the Switch 2 system, each part, such as buttons or sensors, will have stamps to collect. Getting all of them lets you move on to the next area. I don't dislike this concept, but it should be a bonus feature, not what stops your progression. Tracking down all of them is annoying, especially when you only have 1 or 2 left. You end up running around the edge of the section in a manner that isn't fun or challenging. While playing Switch 2 Welcome Tour, there was one question I couldn't shake. Who is this for? At first glance, it looks like it's for a casual audience. The simple graphics and controls seem tailored for wide appeal, and many info panels feature such common facts, like what pixels and frame rate are. Even so, I can't see this having appeal to the masses. The ratio of insights to minigames is way off, and I doubt your mom and dad will fawn over the knowledge that the system is CEC enabled. One reason Wii Sports was a big hit was that it was fun. Switch 2 Welcome Tour is not. This experience could be intended for core players, but I doubt that too. First of all, Nintendo pissed off all the core fans by charging $10, but there's also not that much in it that diehard Nintendies will find compelling. I'm sure the deeper cut info will be interesting to those who want to know all they can about every Nintendo console, but there's a problem you run into when the main hook of your software is information. That's the fact that said information isn't limited to being only delivered through your software. Like how in the ancient days of 2008, the cutscenes scenes of Super Smash Bros. Brawl were posted online, these facts can be as well, with zero negative impact on the recipient. If there was truly juicy info in Switch 2 Welcome Tour, the vultures that call themselves gaming journalists would use it to make 50 clickbait headlines, leading to pages with more ads than text. The casual audience might not see these so-called articles, but hardcore players would. And if they do, what's the point in buying the software? But after completing Welcome Tour, I've come to the conclusion of who Nintendo made it for. They made it for themselves. Going through the experience, it's apparent that the engineers behind the Switch 2 are very proud of what they've created, as they should be. Despite being bigger than the Switch 1, it's a sleek device that packs in a lot of power. The only big game I've tried on it so far is Mario Kart World, which looks and runs great. What third-party games have been able to do is equally impressive, and I'm interested to see what heights developers reach as the generation unfolds. The screen looks very nice. I wish it was OLED, but I doubt I'll reach the point where I think it looks bad anytime soon. I like the new Joy-Cons, and the magnets are a definite upgrade, not some gimmick. They're much easier to take off and on, and I'd imagine they'll hold up for longer. I'm also pleased with the mouse controls. As someone who plays sitting at a desk frequently, I'll probably get a lot of use out of them, and they open up all sorts of gameplay possibilities. Even in Welcome Tour, there's cool games that wouldn't be possible without the mouse, so I'm excited for how Nintendo will implement them into future titles. The only problem is that while holding the Joy-Cons, I've found my middle finger often going over the sensor and activating it when I didn't want to. But since I'll probably use the Pro Controller anytime I'm not intending to use the mouse, I doubt this will end up being an issue. My only true complaint about the Joy-Cons are the sticks, which are better than the original Joy-Con analog sticks, but marginally. I don't get why they won't put full-size sticks on these things, like the kind that are on the Pro Controller. The Steam Deck has full analog sticks, and they're way more comfortable than either Switch system. And when these sticks start drifting, oh boy. Nintendo better put some barbed wire fences around their headquarters. But overall, the Switch 2 is an impressive console, and I look forward to playing many games on it over the years. Nintendo is right to be proud of it, so much so that in Welcome Tour, they speak to the player in a way that they rarely ever do. In many insight panels, when describing the process of designing the system, the pronoun we is often used. Unless Nintendo is channeling Gollum, this is an acknowledgement from the real people that made this console. It's subtle, but it draws light on the human beings at Nintendo in a way that doesn't happen often. Even though this is a computer at the end of the day, there's a craftsmanship to it that you don't see in many products, and I want to acknowledge the hard work and clever design of the people that made it happen. But that doesn't make Welcome Tour any more fun to play. However, there were avenues that Nintendo could have taken to make this a more appealing product. Again, I know a lot of people wanted Welcome Tour free with the system, but for all these reasons I've stated, I don't think it shows off the console well. A pack-in game should get you excited for more games for that system. If Wii Sports or Astro's Playroom were free samples, then a packed-in version of Welcome Tour would be like eating a spoonful of mayonnaise before you get your ice cream. So in its current form, I don't think it would have done Nintendo much good to include it with the system. However, I do think that it should have been packed in with the accessories. The way they should have done it would be keeping Welcome Tour as a $10 eShop purchase, but if you buy the Switch 2 camera, Pro Controller, Joy-Con wheel, or charging grip, you also get a free code for Welcome Tour. All of these accessories are featured in it anyway, and including it with them would make Nintendo seem a lot less scummy charging for it. If anyone gets enjoyment out of Switch 2 Welcome Tour, it's the die-hard fans, those more likely to purchase these extras. It might even lead to increased accessory sales. I didn't buy the new Pro Controller, but if it had come with Welcome Tour, I might have reconsidered. No promises though. I'm using my current one until it explodes on me. Another alteration I'd have made would be to pare it down drastically. Get rid of most of the insights, only keeping those most interesting and Switch 2 specific, like the ones about the Joy-Con magnets and mice, and place more of a focus on the minigames. Not all of the minigames are great, but there are some gems here, which could have been expanded. One thing I'd have definitely recommended would be making as many of them multiplayer as possible. Stunt driving could have easily been 2-player, and Balloon Hunt could have had a 2-player mode as well. to encourage the purchase of a second set of Joy-Cons. Wii Sports was great because families could play it together. With these adjustments, Switch 2 Welcome Tour might not have been Wii Sports, but it probably could have become Wii Play. Because as it is now, Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour isn't an experience I can recommend, especially for $10. It shifts between feeling like an advertisement for a console you already own, an advertisement for accessories you might own, and a mind-numbing info dump with all the thrill of a 5th grade spelling bee. There's moments of joy in some of the mini-games and tech demos, but they're few and far between. A problem that gets worse the further into the system you go. The last section, inside the console, has 17 quizzes, one of which is a 13-question final exam, but it only has one tech demo and 2 minigames. There's no coincidence that the name of this last section is Area L. Welcome Tour doesn't diminish my excitement for the rest of the Switch 2 generation, but going through it is an unequivocal waste of time. It captures the feeling of being in a museum, but with too much focus on the most boring parts. Nintendo is capable of making good games, but Switch 2 Welcome Tour is not one.